Hi everyone, welcome to Solar Integrations. In today's video we're going to be connecting up our inverter to our Home Assistant using an ESP32. This is a follow-up video on a previous video that I've done on ESP32. I'm going to try and make it a lot easier to understand the onboarding process in this video. And also we're going to be using this new shield which is available locally. It has got a built-in power supply for it, so you can run the shield from 12 volt supply inside of the inverters, and it also has a 3.3 volt RS485 board built into it, which is better than the Max 575 boards, which are a 5 volt board and you have to take a resistor off and a whole lot of other things. So this makes it much easier. There's no soldering involved and it's a great option. So if you are interested in this type of content, please remember to like and subscribe. It does help me with my YouTube algorithm a lot, and I look forward to any questions that you've got down in the comments. We will see you after the break. In today's video, I'm going to be looking at a new ESP board with an ESP32. I've done a previous video on the Smart Deye Dongle 4, which was Heinz Milker's custom firmware. He's made these boards available separately now, so you can buy them on his website for 400 Rand. I don't know anybody that sells them locally. You can import them yourselves from China, but I think for 400 Rand you get the ESP and the board, and you get delivery in a day or so. It works very, very well. You get the right stuff. It's all going to work together. So I suggest supporting Heinz. I don't know if anybody else selling these boards locally, but I think it's really a step up option from the older RS485 boards, which involved quite a lot of soldering to try to get them to work. I'll just show you a picture of that. This board just plugs straight on, so you don't have any issues with that's what it looks like over there. You don't have any issues with bad soldered connections or anything like that, which seems to have been a big problem for people. You've got your power. It's got a 12 volt input to it, so in most of the Sunsynks and the Deys you can just take a 12 volt supply from inside the inverter and plug it straight into the board. It's very neat and tidy, and he also has got a 3D printed case for it, which works very well. Okay, so now we're going to start the onboarding process into Home Assistant. The first thing we're going to want to do is add ESPHome into our system. So we go Settings, Settings, Add-ons, go to the add-on store, type in ESPHome, and click on that and install. That'll take a few seconds to complete. Okay, once that's completed, we want to auto update, keep the watchdog on, and show it in the sidebar, which will add it on over there. And I don't think there's anything that you need to do in certification or configurations. There are some options here that you can set up, but they're not really necessary. You can just click on Start. It'll start ESPHome. We then go to ESPHome. We want to add a new device. So click on New Device, and we want to open ESPHome Web. If we connect on here, here's a list of our devices which are connected to our USB ports as COM ports. I know that this one over here is my ESP32. If you're unsure which one is your ESP32, then just unplug your ESP32 from your computer. You'll see the port that it's on will disappear, and then plug it back in again, and you can work it out that way. Click on Connect and prepare for first use. And we go through that. That's going to take about 2 minutes to complete this process. So I'll just fast forward to the end of this. Okay, so configuration installed. It's going to be it's closed. Going to connect to it. It's going to ask us for the Wi-Fi address. Connect to Wi-Fi, darkness. Okay, connect. It'll now connect it to my Wi-Fi network, and what'll then happen is our Home Assistant should see it, and we should be able to adopt it into our Home Assistant installation. Just give it a moment to do that. Okay, so it's connected this time, and if I go to visit device, it'll show me that ESP32 on my network, and I can go and change the Wi-Fi there if I want to. What you'll see now is if I go to ESPHome, there it has discovered that one, and I want to adopt that into my Home Assistant. So I click on adopt. I can call it whatever I want to at this stage. I go adopt, and then it'll give me the encryption key for this ESP32. This is quite important, so what you want to do is just take a copy of that, and what it's going to do is now it's going to install a very basic installation of ESPHome onto the ESP32, and we're going to go and edit that, and we're going to add our own bits and pieces that we want to for our firmware from SlipX06. So it's going to go through this compilation process and upload that to the ESP32. Connecting. Starting log output. Okay, now that gives us the IP address that it's on over there, the signal strength, all of that information over there as to speeds, all that type of stuff. Okay, and now if we have a look, there it is sitting over there. If I want to go and see the logs in it, I click on over there, I can see the logs, and that's all working. Okay, so now what we're going to want to do is we're going to want to load our firmware onto here for reading the inverter. You can see the standard firmware that it's got is basically it's just connecting it to Home Assistant. We've got the name of our device, what board it is, the API encryption key, and your Wi-Fi username and password. This is actually stored in your secrets file. Which is a very good idea to use. If you don't know anything about Home Assistant secrets, then just Google it on YouTube and it'll explain how the whole thing works. And then this over here is also quite important to make a note of this password over here. If for some reason your ESP32 can't connect to your Wi-Fi network, then what it will do is it will open up its own little hotspot, and that's what the hotspot's going to be called, and that's what the password's going to be called. So you just probably want to have take a note of that as well in your spreadsheet with all your keys in it. What we're now going to do is we're going to go through to SlipX06's GitHub page. I'll put a link of that in the show description. And I've got a 16 kilowatt Deye. This will pretty much work for all the single phase inverters. The 3-phase inverters, you want to be using this one over here. Both files will actually work, but you're just not going to have some of the sensors in it. So if we open this file up, let's just download it quick. Okay, there we go. That's the file. Now, you can see the structure is very similar to what all the code and everything that's in here is very similar. So what I like to do is copy the whole file So let's just take everything. I think we can actually just copy it, Control A, copy, okay. And then over here, I like to paste it in, okay. And what we're going to do is we're going to include the parts in which aren't in my so substitutions over here. We need to put some substitutions in. The device name, we're going to call it the inverter, and friendly name we've actually got over there already, so I don't need to do that. And description, most of this stuff is optional. We've got the reason for him putting these substitutions in is because he's put the substitutions in at the start. So what it'll do is his device name, will put Deye inverter over there, and device description will be under the over there. So then I don't need this anymore either. That can come out, and I can actually just put friendly name back in here under substitutions. Okay, and I can delete. It's got device name. I think what I'm going to actually do is actually just leave that in over there. Otherwise, these things tend to get confused. So, device name, ESPHome. The board type, ESP32. Just want to make sure that, okay, so I'm just going to delete his one. I see that Paul's put in a web server now. It's got in the secret file, it's got a web server username and web server password. So you're just going to need to make sure that you put those into your secret file. You're going to need to edit your secret file and stick that stuff in there. API encryption. So he's moved his API, API key through to his secrets file as well. It's also good practice. OTA. I don't think we're actually going to use. We're going to just leave the OTA as it is. Wi-Fi, we will leave that as it is, so I can take that out. Fallback pass hotspot, I'm going to leave it as it is, so I'm going to take that out. Fast connect, I'll leave as true. I don't have any fast connect settings in. And the logger, I think we have a logger setting up there. So what I'll do is just copy that in and just paste that over that logger setting. Okay, and then from captive portal downwards, we're basically all our own new settings. Now, using this board that I've got, TX pin will be 17. The RX pin will be 16. Baud rate I can leave as is. And the modbus, the flow control pin will be pin 4. Now it's quite important that you that you check if you're using a separate ESP RS485 board. You're going to need to just check that you're using those TX and RX pins on your ESP32. If you're using one of these power supply and RS485 shields combined, then these are the pins that you will be using. Modbus controller all looks good, and basically everything else is as per standard over here. Okay, so as I said, I've got a 16 kilowatt inverter. So what I am going to want to do is I need to do a little bit of customization in these sensors, because the 16 kilowatt has got 3 MPPT controllers. So I'm going to need to add that in over here. The place I'm going to find that information is in the Sunynk modbus document, which gives us all of the addresses for the RS485, the modbus queries. If I just do a search here and I go search for PV3, there we can see, so address 108, DC voltage for for MPPT1 is 109, for DC voltage for 2 is 111, and current, so that's giving us all the addresses over there. If I then come down here and I do a search over here for PV1, that's voltage, there you can see that's 109, PV voltage 109. If I go have a look over here, that's PV voltage is 109. So that's where it's using these numbers over here. So if I want to add for PV3, what I will do is just copy this whole section like that, okay, and add it at the bottom over here like that, and let's call this PV3. Okay, PV3 power, PV3 voltage, PV3 current, and then I'm obviously going to have to query the correct addresses. So if I go back here and I go down to 186, okay, so 186 is PV1 power, PV2 power. There I can see PV3 power is 188. So I can just go and change for power. It's going to be 188, and then I need to change the name of the entity that it's going to create. It's going to be called Inverter ESPHome PV3 power, and that is at address number 188. Okay, and because all the device class and is power, everything else is the same. Unit of measurement is the same as PV1, so it's very easy. That's the easiest way to do it, I think. For voltage, I now want to go have a look at number 109. So if I go back up here to 109, I'll be able to see the voltage. There it is. So DC1 voltage is 109, 2 is 111, 3 is 113. So I go back here. I'm going to change this to 113. Change the name of it to friendly name PV3 voltage, and that's going to change to 113. So everything else will stay the same. You can see the unit of measurement is set as volts and device class is voltage again. And then for a current, we're going to see at 110. 110 is DC1 current. DC2 current is 1112. DC3 current is 114. So I can change that to 114. And then I need to change the name, PV3 current, and address to 114. Okay, so that's updated that. Now the only other thing I'm going to need to do is I want it, when it's doing the totals, I want it to add up the sum of PV1 and 2, because there's no query, there's no total PV power from coming from the inverter. What I want to do is set it up so that my my ESP32 will actually add those things up for me, and PV3 to get total PV power. So this thing is going to be called, the name of it will be Inverter ESPHome PV Total, okay? And that is going to do a lambda, so it's going to do a query, and it's going to return that one, which if I have a look over there, Inverter ESPHome PV1 is up here. That's it up there, Inverter ESPHome, that one, plus it'll be plus that one, and then I want to add my my third one on, which will be that one over there. Okay, so what we can do is just add another plus over here, plus, and then let's just copy this over here like that, add that in, change that to PV3, and add another bracket. So we got the opening bracket over there and the closing bracket over there, that bracket, and that bracket. The other thing I wanted to go over with you guys, which is new, is the totals, which I noticed that Paul has added to his SlipX06 code. So what this does is you can take any of these sensors and you can create your own sensors using calculations in the ESP32. So these are new sensors which Paul added. There's a daily PV energy sensor. So what it's doing is it is tracking the existing sensor, and it's calculating a kilowatt hours out of that. So it's taking this inverter ESP PV total, which is the ongoing power coming in from the PV panels, and it is calculating a daily total on this, and it'll keep track of it. So the nice thing about this is, instead of doing it in your Home Assistant, which if you reboot your Home Assistant or something like that, it loses this total. This stays in the ESP32, and the ESP32, as long as it's not switched off and on, will keep track of your daily totals. You do need to have your time enabled so that it'll reset it every day as well, which I think Paul has set up. He's got totals here for PV total, battery charge, battery discharge, the inverter load, grid import totals, and you can customize these anyway, you know, using the same sort of thing as I did with the PV panels, with the MPPT controllers. So you can customize it, you can add your own ones in as well. And I think what you can also do is add sensors together, and so you create a new sensor name and add existing sensors, or subtract sensors from each other. So you can do mathematical functions on the ESPHome as well. I thought that was very cool, and it's very nice of Paul to add that for us. The other thing I'm going to do before I try and save and install, I'm not going to put all these things into the secret file, so I'm just going to comment this stuff out so that we have the bare minimum for our web server. So it'll just show us the web server. I'll show you how that works. So I think that should do it. I've I've created in my secrets file, I've got the Wi-Fi SSIDs. What I would suggest you do is once everything's running and loading, is go and enable these settings and create the those passwords and usernames in your secrets file as well. I like to try and keep it as simple as possible for my initial setup so that I don't cause too many problems. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is save it, and then I'm going to ask it to install it, and let's see if we get any errors. We're going to install it wirelessly. Okay, that looks like it's going through, it's going to go through the whole compilation process now, and I'll just fast forward this through to the end for you guys. You don't have to wait for the whole thing. Okay, so that all looks like it's working. It's going to have a few errors because it's not plugged into anything. So what I'm going to do is just take that and plug it into my inverter, and let's see what we get. Okay, so this is our cable over here. This is a T568B cable, which is the most common one I've found. You can see the orange and white is pin number 1, which is at the bottom of this picture, and then orange is pin number 2, which is the one next to it. We're going to be connecting those on this plug to orange on the outside, and then orange and white on the inside. And then as far as the power cables are concerned, so the ground is on the blue one, and the 12 volts live is on the red one. I hope that makes sense. If you've got any questions, let me know. And then that's just a matter of plugging it in your inverter. You need to check your 12 volt input on your inverter, as they are different. The 8, the 16, and the 12 kilowatt 3 phases, they use different pinouts in the inverter, so you just need to check which ones you can get the 12 volts from on yours, and make sure you plug it in the correct way, otherwise you will blow up your ESP32 board. Okay, so our RS485 logger's online now. First thing we want to do is make sure that we have a backup of the configuration that we've got that's working. We can go and visit the ESP32 on our network, and because we've got the web server enabled, it'll show us all the sensors that it is collecting data on and what the values are. I would suggest that you enable the username and password on it. Otherwise, anybody that has access on your network will be able to change these settings, which is not ideal. What you can also do is, if you want to add these sensors to your to one of your pages, I've got this dashboard set up over here waiting for my inverter settings. I go to integrations, ESPHome, I click on the device, and I can just add these to my dashboard. I can tell it I want to add it to my inverter dashboard. Yes, add that one, and then I can add this one as well. Add to dashboard, and then it's also got a firmware which I don't need. When I go to over here, I can see there's all my settings in the nice dashboard. Now, if you want to have a better looking dashboard, SlipX06 has got a great dashboard which you can set up. I have done a video of it in the past. What you will just need to do is check your entity settings, all the names on them, these things over here, your entity IDs, to make sure that they match up with the entity IDs in your SlipX06's dashboards. He's got some really nice looking ones. Let me just show you guys if you haven't seen them before. Let's just go back to here. He's got a really nice power flow card, which is very cool, does all your power flows, and also then he has a full dashboard which includes the power flow card and a whole bunch of other stuff as well. Very cool, very easy to set up. As I said, you just need to make sure that your entity names match up, and I'll put a link through to the video that I did on that. I hope you guys have enjoyed this video. I know it's been a while coming, but I hope you find it worthwhile. If you do enjoy my videos, please remember to like and subscribe. It does help with my channel with getting it out there, and I will see you next time.